You know, I started talking. I got 9 minutes into my opening video, and I had wandered. I often do. You guys know this. I wander around talking about this and talking about that. And there's just so much going on in my head. I'm happy right now. I'm home now, back in the grind. Now we are in full transition, right? We are gone. Stake season is gone, right? Sale season is gone. Now it is racehorses. How do we transition in and out of some racehorses? And that's a tricky situation sometimes. You've seen that right now with Renegade Gypsy, and whether we pull the trigger on selling him or not. You see that with other horses where maybe, you know, a horse like Wallop, you know, obviously the proof is in the pudding. You ask yourself, did I make a mistake not selling him either time? The answer was no, and then you watch him make 2 breaks out of 3 and a 5th in between, and you're like, regardless of how I think about the situation, the result is, obviously, it was a mistake. There's other sides, though. Hanging on to those fillies to sell them in Harrisburg because I knew what they were worth. And Horn Player is a perfect example. You know, I had a number of clients over the last month ask why we didn't at least post Horn Player, why we didn't post Cutie Cumber, and Swing Senior was in the heart of racing. And still, Spring Haven, just so you know, Jeff and Sanina have been quiet partners in that filly and a couple other ones that they had bred. And I appreciate that over the last little while, and for them to buy Swinging Senior back. I told them, I said, just so you know, she's got 3 races left in her at Dayton. Now one is a 10 where she should be able to mop them if that's the route you want to take. You know, I think she would do very good down there. So Swinging Senorita, obviously she wasn't sold for that reason, but the other 2 fillies, it was because this is where they were supposed to be. And I told everybody what I thought they were worth, and I'm not always going to be right, but I generally have a pretty good idea of what horses are worth, right? And that will change given the situation, given the playing field, right? Yearlings, the worth of yearlings can change quite a bit. You see that in the Harrisburg sale, right? And a couple of the other sales. But the fabric of our industry, those broodmares, that price might slide a little bit here and there. But for the most part, I knew what those horses should probably bring, and we were right. We got exactly, roughly speaking, exactly what we thought we were going to get for them. So I was talking about just a ton of things, trying to plot a course forward for our stable, trying to understand maybe the strengths and weaknesses of 2023, and trying to realize what the future of 2024 and beyond will look like, and how do we get there, what's the best way there. And I got talking about driving, I got talking about, you know, broodmares, and it just muddied the water, you know, to the point where even I didn't even remember what I was talking about at the start. So I'll try to stick to the script. Oliver, I'm here. Oliver's playing flag football tonight, so his practice is for another 15 minutes, and then they play a little scrimmage game. I want to make sure I see the scrimmage game. So you have 14 minutes and 30 seconds of my undivided attention right now. I did a video earlier today outlining, I know I posted a video and posted in depth. It wasn't in depth. I went into a great detail of how we ended up with every horse in the sale, what I thought of every horse we got in the sale, and even price points, what I thought they were worth, not worth, how close we were to my line of where I thought that was enough. A couple of horses bumped right up. Some of them were well below. And the odd horse does get a little bit over. I did stretch a little bit, not get Wondrous Blue Chip this season, and I could have stretched forever, and I wasn't going to get him if you happen to take the time to notice who bought him. So just as I like to call it when we're heading the sales, the storylines of the sales, we called it right again going into Harrisburg, that it was going to be a little weak, a little flat. The top horses sold for top money. Middle horses held strong somewhat, but those lower end, and they weren't lower end, maybe just watered down pedigree, the horses we always went after, right? The horses that were a little light on the top end, maybe 3 or 4 foals that were a little flat from the top mare, but the second and third dams are strong. You know, maybe the horse wasn't as big and strong as people may like, and those horses were getting crucified, and the breeders were getting crucified in some cases. But that is human nature. That happens there's a cycle. You know, go and look at it, and I'm sure the recession plays a huge role. I would have thought COVID played a huge role, but that's when all these hot prices for the breeders started, right? Maybe the year before, but right around there. And you can't go forever. That can't stay hot forever. So there was going to be a reckoning, and I think that it was this year somewhat, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, the breeders were taking pretty good care of the last 3-4 years, I think, and now this year, you know, again, we spent a lot of money at the sales, but what I noticed was we got more of what we wanted, right? There was more meat on the bone. You know, we ordered that 10-ounce ribeye, and it seemed to, or 10-ounce T-bone, or 12-ounce, and it seemed to have a little more on there. You know, when I look back at the horses we got, we paid a lot for some. Rightfully so, we had to. There were some, you know, and we talked about the storylines. There were some storylines of horses that got paid really well. Chimpanzee, those horses went really hot this year. Poppy Rubs held pretty strong. I'm talking about new sires. Tall Dark Stranger, to be honest, I'm sure they were strong, but maybe not as strong as even I thought they would be. I thought they would be much stronger. In fact, I stayed away from most of them in Lexington just because I thought they would run really hot. So I was wrong in that regard. Not that they weren't, but just not as hot as I thought they'd be. I thought they'd be untouchable, like Chimpanzee was on the trotting side. Anyway, it's always great to reflect, and I'll probably reflect for the next couple of videos, right? And maybe throughout the winter, take a look back on what we did, what we didn't do, what we want to achieve, and how we're going to get there, as I said before. When it comes to the racing side, I think we've done a great job with the way we moved horses around. I know a lot of people over the last 3-4 years, when we started transitioning and selling horses a little quicker, I literally had an email from somebody the other day saying, in reference to another trainer, this guy sells them way too slow and you sell them way too fast. I just wonder if we can get back to the middle. And my answer was no. I'm not going back to the fact. I'm not going back to the point that I know is the wrong place to be in my mind, and that is to hang on to the horses until it's blatantly obvious that they should be sold. No one wants those horses at that point, right? And in regards to a horse like Renegade Gypsy, yes, I have a big decision to make. Well, not really. I mean, we can still protect the horse to whatever price we want if we do send them to the sale. But we can't hang on to those horses forever. Somebody said, well, you got rid of Walk on the Moon way too soon. Well, thank you very much. You're 100% correct. But in fairness to Anthony, we did have him with 6 trainers. And he raced the same for all 6 trainers. So good job for the gentleman that has the horse right now. I'm glad that you've done well. But at the same token, it was time for that horse to go. And there's going to be lots of horses. If we sold, no matter who you are, if you sell horses and they never go forward, people just won't buy off you after a while. And that's just the way it is. So whether it be Renegade Gypsy or Walk on the Moon or a number of other horses that we could or would or have sold that do good, they have to sometimes. And it's not like we run a magic shop. We train the horses best we can. We put them in a position to do the best they can. And then when it seems like that position is starting to narrow, right? That path is starting to narrow, and our opportunities are becoming a little less fruitful. Then we tend to move the horses, and you know, everybody should be aware that over the next month we're probably going to sell 7 to 9 to 10 or 11 horses, and turn those horses over. We bought Collector and Kenobi. Those horses will fit in nicely. We have horses coming back as 3-year-olds. Some of them will be ready a little earlier than others. We also have horses that I'm looking at on gate and preferred all the time to turn over, right? To move some of these horses out. And you know who they are. I've been talking about them for quite a while now. I just want to make sure that we're in a position where we can have, where we can be forwardly placed, where we can race at Mohawk, or we can race at the Meadows, or we can race at Northfield, or Dayton, or Yonkers if we have to. We're likely going to have a horse or two racing at the Meadowlands this winter. Plain Ridge was open. We had horses racing there. Illinois is about to close, and we had a fantastic season with Perlucky. Do we turn him out, or do we sell him? These are tough decisions to make. And I'm never going to be right, because you're always going to have a group of people that are angry and upset. But I think if everybody just took a second to step back and try and walk just a couple of feet in my shoes to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing and why I arrived at the position on any topic I arrived at, things will go over a lot better, right? Whether it be Renegade Gypsy or whether it be a number of other horses. So we have this massive ship that we're trying to move, and it's not, I think we pivot as quick as anybody, but sure, we could always do better. I know I could always do better in every facet of the stable, but I'm learning as I go also, and hopefully from some of the mistakes that get made, some of the future policy positions we take make the most sense. So that's where we're at. So in racing this year, we had another fantastic year. A number of the horses raced well. We've had a lot of luck at the track with a lot of our trainers, and hopefully that continues. Last week when I was gone, you know, it's not magic. You know, when I was gone, the horses raced great for Chris Lems and for Tim and for, you know, Jason here and Stacy, as they always do. They always raced pretty good. And any shortfalls that come up, we assess them, right? What happened with Wallop? Now, I was wrong. I said to Wallop, I forgot that he was fifth. We said, oh, now he's going to qualify. Just send him back up here and I'll qualify him and race him. Problem is, there isn't a whole lot for Wallop at Northfield Park. And when it comes to the Meadows, the class didn't fill last week. So I did what was fair, I thought. Because this is a horse, obviously a horse that's going to need a little different for every trainer, right? But a little polishing. And he is raced 15, 16 times. He might need turned out at some point. Or sold, I guess, but we're going to take a bath on him now. What do we do with Wallop? Well, they make the draw for the Meadows at 9 a.m. We'll enter him at the Meadows. If he's going to get in at the Meadows, then that's where he'll race next Friday. If he's not getting in at the Meadows, they make the draw for Dayton at 1, which is cool. It's very helpful. We'll try and get him back in there and see how he does. And this has worked very, very well. Now, I guess before we start talking about more future stuff, let's talk about the past. Let's talk about what took place last week. On Monday, we had a great win from All the Gas, No Brakes again. That's 3 in a row. And another win for Per Lucky, which was 2 in a row. He raced great. White Tiger had to race in the Open and didn't, he finished 6th, I think, but raced okay. Now, that's 4 starts in the Open. They didn't fill the class, the backup class this week. And if they stuff him in the Open again, I think the next go-around where if he gets down and then he gets back up, when he starts to get back up to that Open class again, I'm just going to take him. I'm going to race him at the Meadows for 3-4 weeks, and then he can go back and race in Ontario. We had the ability to do that. He had scattered, I guess is the easiest way to put it, and the most optimistic way to put it, scattered results at the Meadows, but he was a different horse then than he is now. I can tell you what, I am absolutely not racing, wasting 4 starts trying to keep up with horses that he can't beat. Now, if a couple of those horses get put away and the Open becomes watered down a little bit like it did last year, then by all means, we can leave him in Ontario. But I'm not racing against Fashion Frenzy, and that's not me having sour grapes. That's not me being stupid. We can't beat those horses, and I'm not going out there saying, come on, Tiger, let's finish 5th. I'm not going to do that. It's not fair to the horse. And I know you might say, well, it's fair because that's where he has to race. No, he doesn't. He doesn't have to race there at all. We have other places we can race him until he can find his way back down properly. We don't have to lose for 5 starts to get back in where we can do good with White Tiger. It's just not what we're going to do. So as this entire process starts over again, now he's got beat up for 4 starts. He's going to drop back down soon enough when the 5th line drops off. And when he does, he starts to ascend that ladder again. When he gets up near the top, he'll be going on a truck for a little while. Gandalf the Black, there's talk about horses that we're likely going to sell this fall. Gandalf the Black will likely be one of those horses. Nice horse. He's done us a lot of good. In fact, if you go back and look at our videos way back when on Gandalf the Black, I suspect he's been a dramatic overachiever since the day he first went on the racetrack as a racehorse. Very proud of what this horse has done, but again, he likely won't be staying with us. Enzo Guayo won again, which was good, but where is he going to, when he gets up in that Numbers of 4 to Numbers of 7 class, if he can't do in there, then he'll be heading also. It's pretty simple. We've been buying horses that fit Numbers of 1, Numbers of 2. And if they get up on that Numbers of 4, if you can do, great. See you in the morning. If you can't, you might be in a different barn at some point. And that's how we've been trying to handle that bottom class. Haven't got a lot of pacers to go in there. I almost bought one today. But we do generally have trotters that'll ascend in different ways. And what we're trying to do is do well along the way and then give them the opportunity to be better horses. And if you are good enough at that point, here's your stable sweater. Here's your key for the security gate. You are now a member of the stable. If you can't, your probationary period's up. And I don't have any qualms about that. A lot of people saying, that's not the way it used to be. No, it's not the way it used to be. Used to be that we would keep the horses until they were worth absolutely nothing and had nowhere to go and then tried to sell them and got beat up on them. And along the way, we are learning what makes the most sense for us, for our trainers, for our barns, and for our horses that are our horses along the way. And some horses will stay for a very long time, right? And other horses won't. Now, Wednesday, Stay Close race good. He was off 2 weeks. I hope he gets in next week. I'd hate to race him on another 2-week schedule because to me it looked like he was 4th short. And you can't train him hard because he's hot to begin with and he can bleed. So you can't train him hard. So if he's off 2 weeks and 2 weeks and 2 weeks, it's a problem. I don't mind skipping a week now and again, but I think if he gets back in next week, you're going to see a much different, well, not much different. You're going to see Stay Close hopefully head back to the winner's circle. Patrick the Piranha was good. I think, again, that start at Northfield was important. It was useless for us, but it kept him tight, but not tight enough that he was coming in razor sharp. I think Chris drove him good. I think Tim had him as good as he could, and I think he'll be much better again if we can get him back in at the Meadows. Spitfire Overseas was tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. I think he can ascend there for a while, and then we'll decide. Right, here's another tricky situation with him. Carter Michael Dio is about to start racing. Well, I'll talk about his break quickly. The break for Carter Michael Dio was exactly same situation that James made a break with him when he was racing in that stake race as one of the favorites. I think it was the Wellwood elimination, actually, where James had put him in a spot and he had him all doubled up, and then he went to trot forward and he hit his knee and he made a break. If you watch the race, he's twisted around the qualifier. He's twisted around coming out of the turn. He's got a real good hold on him. He went to let him advance, and I can guarantee you he touched his knee, his knee boot, hit his knee, neck stride, because we talk about this all the time. When a horse will hit their knee, especially he had bell boots on too, which for those of you out there that have ever driven a horse, you know it's almost an automatic no-no. Bell boots and knee boots, bad combo, because the rubber of the bell boot can catch sometimes on the knee boot, which, you know, you might say to yourself, oh, a 1,000-pound horse. When you're going 30 miles an hour, there's not, and you know, it doesn't take a whole lot to trip somebody or something up. And that's something that can happen. So, bell boots and knee boots, touched his knee. Next one ends up in his shin or up in his jack area. And the horse just touched himself, stung himself, and made a break. It's the exact same break he made in the Wellwood. James wasn't too worried about it. I didn't dwell on it because I knew what happened. He's qualified. I think he can race because there's a flat line in the qualifier before. And Dominic was trying to explain. He said, Dom, you don't have to explain. I'm not upset at all. I know. I said, the horse is fine. He said, the horse is 100% sound. I said, I know exactly what happened. I explained the same thing to him, and if you don't know what I mean, go back and another qualifying video is not the same quality, but if you go watch the qualifying video, and then maybe go back and watch the break he made in the Wellwood, where James was bottled up, and he get out of gear, and you can see him touch himself, get out of gear, and run. And that's the exact same thing he did. It's just, trotters will do it sometimes, but that's the position he's in. He's always transitioning speed, slowing down or speeding up. That's when he's more apt to do it, and that's what he did. Now, if you're floating along, third over, and you just wheel him out in the middle of the track, you won't have any trouble with him, and James knows that, and that's why he wasn't upset at all. So I suspect you're going to see Carter race next week, no problem. So Carter and Spitfire, they're getting to a point now. We talk about that 4-year-old transition. I think they'll both transition very, very well. I think Carter's got a lot of work ahead of him. A lot to do. Not that he has to, just that it's there. It's right there in front of him. He only has 3 wins, and Spitfire's now just ascending the classes. Here's a horse that is crushed with Ronnie Wren 3 weeks in a row, and this is a situation where I suspect Ronnie Wren's going to stay on this horse. Ronnie and him get along very, very well, and I always like so Spitfire's hobbles, whether they got stayed up in Indiana or whether they stayed at Stacy's, I'm not sure. They didn't arrive back at the Meadows with Spitfire, and I'd asked Ronnie. And I don't know Ronnie Wren as far as a trainer. I know his family's been in the game forever. I said, Ronnie, can you do me a favor? Can you go last trip? I'm in Harrisburg. Can you go last trip with Spitfire Overseas? Just let him scoot a little bit on the end of it. Don't rev him up. Let him scoot a little bit in the end of it. See how those hobbles feel? They look perfect. So he set them. Him and Dean set them, and they worked out perfect. And he gets along really well with the horse. So I'm just going to tell Tim, leave Ronnie Wren on Spitfire. If he's not there or he has to drive one of Burke's, so be it. Fine. Otherwise, that horse and him get along very, very well. Atlas Hanover, a lot of people saying, you know, we got to get rid of this horse. Guys, I appreciate that you're being aggressive and you're trying to be aggressive with the buying and selling horses. I get that, but no one wants a horse that looks like he's tired or can't do, right? So we have to get him in a position where he's doing well. And he did not do well his last start. Whether he's a little sick, a little under the weather, or just didn't like not being on the gate, I don't know. But he did not race well. So we'll see. I had the 2-1. So we'll endeavor to put some good lines on him, and along the way, keep this little tidbit in the back of our mind also. Here's a horse that should be better and could be better. Quite frankly, him and Mickey Mantle, I'm not upset with them in any way, but their lack of advancement as 4-year-olds is probably the reason I didn't keep bidding on Ticker Tape Hanover, to be truthful. And a part of it, I can tell you, it was a component of it. Maybe not the number one underlying factor, but it was a component of it for sure. So I'm well aware. We'll see. We have options with both him and Mickey Mantle, so we'll continue to move forward with them. But yeah, I was a little disappointed also. Halakai was a little under the weather and was scratched last week. She trained today light. We'll come back in next week. I think this filly's got lots of talent. I really like her. Lindy's Landing, going to make a shoeing change with this guy. Chris Lem said he didn't want to leave. I watched a couple of his races. He left out of there all right. So I had turned his shoes around. He had backwards shoes on, and sometimes the horses just can't get a hold of the track, especially this track can get deep sometimes. I have no reports on how it was last week when he raced, but Kurt said he just fell off. That was the race. It was over when he got away at the back, so need to get him off the car a little bit better than that, and that certainly wasn't his fault. As soon as he said it, I'm like, it might have been the shoes. So I think I talked to Jason. I think we're just going to switch those back around and work with that. Divine Zet looked good the other day and trained great today. I think she's going to get better and better and better. In fact, you might even see her make a trip over the meadows at some point with no hobbles on. Again, back to the way she was, because she felt great today training. Really like what I saw from her. Five Fish Species continues to race good. Outside post, what are you going to do? I thought she raced well in a sliver of fashion. Kind of tough, in a tough spot with him the other day, right? It'd been off 2 weeks. Then you're burned him up all the way to the quarter pole. He had to get somewhere. He just can't sit out there. So we'll see if we can get him in a better spot. But 8-hole this week, we'll do the best we can. Then we went Thursday. Delicious Stone DK, I thought raced good. Lauren Herman is going to get the call next week in the amateur race. So good luck to her. It's a nice little horse. She's going to like him a lot. Greatest Ending raced very good. Numbers of 10, no joke. He raced good. A lot of people messaging me about where this guy's going to go next. I think the plan was to race him in the Meadowlands this winter, so we'll see how that plays out over the next little while. Unique Style is also probably on the list to be sold at some point. He raced well the other day, better than I thought he would. He finished second, raced good. I think if he throws another second at them, he's a useful horse. He's just not a very rugged animal, and I don't know if he's going to be with us all winter long, but a pretty useful horse, but from what I can see. Cupid Express, I thought raced great. Love to see this filly race great. She's such a sweetheart. Smoking Hot Irish Girl was a winner the next day. Looked very, very good winning. JK Mickey Mantle raced very good also. Although he was 5th, I know, but he can only do what he can do. He needs to be in a full field, get a hot pace like that, get away 2nd or 3rd, and kind of weave his way through. Instead, he got some flat cover on the inside and didn't get out. Just how it is. You're going to have to play the hand you're dealt and do the best you can. Get the hand dealt well to you with JK Mickey Mantle. Yo Mr. raced good again. I was happy to see him race good. And then the rest of the day kind of fell apart. No, Walter's Keepsake raced good also. So, tonight we got Nothing But a Dreamer at 7:10. Interested to see how this guy's going to race. This horse will be sold. I suspect today's Saturday. The next preferred sale is a week from Monday. He's going to race tonight. He's going to race Saturday and likely be sold before the final of the Harvest. Is that what it's called? The Harvest Series, yes. And I know I'm going to have a lot of people say, no, I wouldn't do that. I'd wait till after. Well, we're not going to. So I'm just telling you exactly what's likely to take place with Nothing But a Dreamer. Alibaba is going to the Ohio sale. It's on Wednesday. We have 5 horses in that so far, and then Renegade Gypsy still a little bit up in the air. I don't know what to do here with this guy yet. I told you Ron Burke said he can't take him to the East Coast. He's too full. Does that mean he doesn't go? Does that mean we sell him? Or does that mean we just send him to Megan down on the East Coast? It's possible, but he needs to go somewhere, I would imagine. We can race the Meadows, but we have horses at the Meadows. I know everybody thinks he gets around a half great, but just because I qualified him in 56 doesn't mean he's a half-mile specialist. He's raced okay at Grand River and those places, but again, the classes he has to race in is like the Open. So it's possible. All these things are rattling around in my head, and I will let you know when I know. So we'll see how he races tonight also. We have a number of other horses racing coming up. Fish is back in to go Wednesday. Enzo's back in. Gandalf's back in. A number of horses coming up. So, again, I'll reiterate, I don't want anybody to have any hard feelings. If you think that I just want to get rid of the horses, because I don't. I do try to have the best plan I can moving forward. I would much rather buy horses that have 4 or 5 places to race, especially than horses that have nowhere to race or only 1 or 2 outlets. Because once you start down that path and you show people that there isn't a lot, and not a lot of places you can race at, then it's a real problem. We could easily take a horse like Renegade Gypsy back and race him at Dayton or Northfield. But once you prove you can't do there, then you can't do there. And I would rather leave it to the imagination than not. I believe there's a horse that came first over and won the Preferred 2 or the Open 2 the other night, won that big race in Indiana. He definitely has raced good. He definitely can get around a half. What does that mean for the future of Renegade Gypsy? I don't know. He's never really been sore or lame. Little bout where he made a couple of breaks when he come back. I don't think it was serious. The horse has never had an issue. Ron has never mentioned to me about him having any soreness issue with this horse. So we do have avenues, and I'm willing to explore them. But we'll see what happens tonight, first and foremost, with Renegade Gypsy. So that is on the stove, so to speak, cooking. We have a number of horses coming back right now. A couple of middle-of-the-roaders, right? You saw Rito's Lady qualify the other day. You saw Easy in the Turns qualify the other day. They'll race 5, 6, 7 times, and we'll put them away again if we think they're stake material. If not, then we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. We also have Spitfire. How long do we continue to race him? He had that big gap in the summer. Carter Michael Dio is on his way back. A couple other horses getting close here in Ohio. A couple of horses we bought. We'll have lots of horses. I want lots of horses racing this winter for all of us at the stable. But we have to acquire them pretty smartly. I think we did that very well in Harrisburg, and hopefully we can continue that trend throughout the fall, on Preferred, on Gate, privately, and get our horses in place to where we need them to be. So with that, I'm going to let you go. I'm going in to watch Oliver's flag football game here on Saturday evening. I hope you guys had a wonderful week. We did have a great week. We had a great week in Harrisburg. It's been a great sales season, and that came on the heels of a wonderful stake season. Hopefully we can keep it going the rest of the year and into 2024. Take care.